Preparations are underway in Saskatchewan to mark 1 year since the mass stabbing on the James Smith Cree Nation in the nearby village of Weldon. 11 people were killed and 17 more injured in the attacks. The suspect, Miles Sanderson, was arrested and later died in police custody. James Smith Cree Nation now has 28 full-time security officers who have training in mental health support. A ceremony is planned for Monday to mark the anniversary, but hundreds gathered at a powwow held yesterday to remember those lost in the tragedy. And joining me now is Percy Lazard, Assistant Professor and Program Coordinator of the Indigenous Studies Program at Wilfrid Laurier University. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Good afternoon. I get to have this complex and complicated conversation and just with one spoon, hold them on track here as an invited guest to the Six Nations and Three Fire Confederacy. First off, I want to share a content warning, trigger warning for First Nations, Métis, Inuit, Afro Indigenous folks who have continued residual feelings of the content of this this clip of our relatives in Saskatchewan, the prairies, Cree folks who continue to feel the impacts and loss and violent loss of their relatives.
It must be so emotional. Tell us, what emotions do you have thinking back on this tragedy almost 1 year to the day? And, has anything changed?
I believe the community took a for us by us and what would work for them as a people, their protocol, practices, and there is still a long way to go. But I think I would want to look at all the emotions that have happened in the last calendar year for Indigenous people in the context of Canada on similar situations where policies continue to fail. First Nations, Métis, Inuit, Afro Indigenous people, politicians continue to fail. The for us, by us needs of Indigenous people and the ways forward. We have had many documents to support settler state governments, whether they be municipal, provincial, or federal, on how to best support a way forward and healing to help minimize or prevent situations like this that have happened in this particular community. Those are the things I think of. I think of the fact that August 31st was Awareness Day for Overdose or being exposed to toxic substances. I know September 30th is coming up for Indigenous people. September, for people my generation and older, is a very difficult time because it's a reminder that folks were sent to, first removed and placed into residential schools, B, that when they never knew when they were going to be able to see their homelands, their families, their siblings, and practicing and speaking what language they knew and protocol they knew from their cultures was something to fear. So it's not just one single event. It's continuous ongoing triggers and examples of ongoing colonialism for First Nations, Métis, Inuit, Afro-Indigenous folks across this country. That has me reflecting and thinking there needs to be multiple solutions to support the ongoing healing of Indigenous folks. And I recognize that settlers or non-Indigenous people might say, well, we hear big numbers of when the government says, here's this for this and this for that. Well, those are basically Band-Aids on amputations. It is one way to move forward. It's not the only way. There needs to be multiple interventions, ongoing support, education, and having the capacity to support your own community members in often remote geographic locations of when mental health issues arise and how to support our relatives who continue to suffer ongoing colonialism.
Oh, Percy, we've run out of time, but we thank you so much for chatting with us today. Percy Lazard, Assistant Professor and Program Coordinator of the Indigenous Studies Program at Wilfrid Laurier University. Thank you so much, Percy.
White Lim Lam.